Huzzah and well met once again, you Redstone wizards and warlocks in training. And I am glad to be back with you guys. I had a viewer comment that they really liked my router as part of a build in my dropper video. I explained how you can send things down two different hoppers depending on which one is powered to be locked and which one is not. So that kind of inspired this video, and I want to just say thank you to Dorsal Dawn 565 who made the comment and inspired this video. I think I already said that. But regardless, let's talk about routers and how we can use them. So this right here is going to be our most basic router. And you will see we have, well, maybe it's not as easy to see as I thought. So we'll do this. We have two hoppers underneath a minecart with hopper that's positioned over top of both of them. And these hoppers are pointing into two separate barrels. And you will see, well, let me make sure. Okay, they're not turned on. What's going to happen is you'll watch. I'm going to put these 30 kelp in there, and you'll see it be taken away by twos. Oh, you'll see it be taken away very quickly. And what we're going to have, whoops, is the kelp mostly evenly distributed. Oh, it worked out exactly that time. Evenly distributed between the two barrels because both of these hoppers are open. So what we do is we power one hopper, and you will see it only gets placed into one barrel. This hopper that we've powered is now locked, and so the minecart can only send kelp down this hopper to this barrel. And that is as easy as it gets for a router. You can leave this as a manual switch position, however you want this to work. And that is our most basic model. But that got me to thinking about a couple other things. I do have an old video about routers. It's not nearly as advanced as this one. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about it in a moment. This is a four-way router where you can turn on or off any one of these hoppers and send whatever is placed in this chest through the minecart with hopper, which is placed over top of all four of these hoppers. As long as the hitbox of the minecart is over top of the hopper, the items can get through to each of the hoppers. So whichever ones you want to be locked up. All right. I'm just going to take that out so we stop doing that little mistake. You can cut them all off so that everything stays right in the hopper with minecart. If you so desire. And then you can turn them all on or turn only 3 of them on, and you'll see our kelp blocks are being distributed amongst our barrels. Except this one, because with our green circuit, we kept this hopper locked, so we will get none of our kelp from the minecart with hopper. And it's as easy as that. You can see that we've locked these ones off, and they're still able to point the hoppers to the sides, so you have enough space to direct where you want your items to go. They don't have to go directly into barrels. You could send them to a processing farm. You could send them to one of my crafters that you've seen in my videos. You could send them on to a shulker box loader, such as I've shown you, or even to a storage silo tower. You could send them into a water elevator. You could, well, perhaps, yeah, you could build an elevator outside of one of these. You could send them on to a water stream to send them 60 million blocks in that direction if you so desire. And now, on to the big one. I have never personally used one of these, but it is possible to make an 8-way distributor because the boat with chest, or yes, boat with chest, any type of boat with chest can be placed in the center so that it can touch 8 hoppers. It can technically touch 9, but you'll see there's a gray concrete block setting under it. If you want to make 9, you'll have to run hoppers down through the center and send them elsewhere. It's up to you. But you'll see all of these hoppers are pointed at different chests. We can, in fact, whoops, you do need to crouch place to interact with the chest. But you'll see these blocks will go away 8 at a time. And this is all explained in my router video, but it's fairly primitive at that point. It's a very old video, one of the first I made on my channel. But you'll see that we sent 8 purple concrete blocks to each of these chests. It was evenly distributed. You can, as we've done before, just power an individual hopper so that you decide where the items go to. Be aware that with these distributors, or routers, as you might call them, if you place items in the hopper here, you are not guaranteed to have even distribution. Over time, if you watch the statistics, they will be mostly even. The longer you go, the more even the statistical distribution will get. But if you just test with one stack, such as this, you're not guaranteed to see. Well, I don't know how many we've turned off here. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're not guaranteed to see 16 items exactly in each of these chests at the end of the stack being processed through. So just keep that in mind. Over time, you will get fairly even distribution, but the smaller sample size that you have will not show exactly evenly distributed items. So we'll skip that for a moment. But this is what really inspired me over my over the comment from Dorsal Dawn and my previous design for my kelp farm, which we'll talk about in a moment. But here we have a redstone block that is being used to power one or the other hopper, which a powered hopper locks down. So you can see our levers are being placed into our minecart with hopper, and they're being sent out. All of them are going to go into this right side barrel because our left side, at least as we're looking at it now, is powered by this redstone block. And we're finished there. They all went right through. So those will quickly get into the minecart with hopper, and you'll see as they're piling in, nothing's into our left barrel. We'll flip the switch, and now we're getting our levers directed into our left barrel as we're looking at it now, and nothing is going to the right barrel. So that's a fairly easy concept to understand. And we'll leave that be. Anything can be used to power this piston. This is a sticky piston pushing and pulling this redstone block. You'll see if we turn this back off, it pulls the redstone back behind this piston, which would, if we were standing over here, be our left side. Obviously, this doesn't work with a four hoppers. There does seem to be a way that you could use redstone underneath the hopper, but I would need to do more research in how you would select which hopper is powered or which hoppers are not powered. So that might be its own video for advancement, and I'm not going to include it here because that seems pretty involved. As far as building the system underneath your hoppers so that you could select where the redstone block is, because you'll need something similar to one of the trident killers to push the redstone block to where it needs to be. But anyways, so we just have a redstone torch powering dust, powering this piston, but we could do many other things. And just as a quick example, we're going to take and place this barrel here, break the redstone torch because we don't need that right this minute, and we can use a comparator, which on the backside examines how much stuff is inside a storage container, and you'll see that that turned on. I'll listen carefully. You'll see our piston deactivated when we took things out and activated when we put things in. So this is a system that we can use for something similar to my infinite self-feeding kelp furnace, which has been redesigned here. If you've seen that video, I appreciate it. If not, you might really enjoy this. This is a design that I arrived at mostly on my own. You might recognize this pink circuit as similar to our dropper setups from the previous video. You'll see from this blue block heading backwards, or heading back there, you'll notice my storage crafter design, or my video on basic crafters. This one is okay because we're using kelp blocks in this, or we are processing kelp into dried kelp blocks. So what our crafter does is when it receives all 9 dried kelp bits, it places a crafted dried kelp block into this minecart with hopper, which then, depending on where our redstone block is back here, just the same as one of these, decides which column to send this down. We have this hopper, which goes over to our item elevator here. This is one of my mechanical item elevators. It's just a stack of droppers being powered to move an item upward. You could use a water elevator here if you'd like to use one of the unloaders or dropper setups from one of my more recent videos. Otherwise, this is going to send them down. The dried kelp blocks will be sent down to this large chest. And how it decides what to do with that is whether or not this piston is getting a signal behind these 2 hoppers. And this is how this comes in very handy for us. As long as you have kelp freshly harvested coming to your smoker here, this contraption will continue to cook the kelp into dried kelp, which goes to the crafter and is crafted into dried kelp blocks. And it will always, always, always prioritize itself having enough fuel to continue. So right now you'll see we have a stack, and a little over a half is lighting up our smart comparator here and lighting up our redstone dust, which powers this piston. And the way this works, and I won't get too much into it just because I have a whole video dedicated to this, is that this comparator is measuring the signal of how much is in this hopper. So right now we have full fuel in the smoker. It's not doing anything, so it's not losing any. But you'll see that our piston has been deactivated now, and it has locked our storage column where they would just go to the chest, and everything will go out the refueling, and you'll see it just reactivated because it loaded up. Okay, so it takes 1 stack plus 28 blocks. We can reduce that by breaking this redstone here and adding a repeater, which means it would only take maybe 1 dried kelp block in here. Yep, 1 dried kelp block is enough to activate the comparator, to activate the redstone, and then the repeater sends enough signal to activate. So that is a very lean way to run this machine. And then this output down here is whatever you'd like. You can send it to a shulker box loader. I have a video on that. I'll put that in the description. And you can send it to a storage silo if you'd like. I have videos on those. You can see them in the store or in the description as well. Otherwise, there's a playlist. I'll link that. But yeah, this is how a router can come in very handy for you as long as you use a comparator to make it smart in quotations so that it knows when to send fuel back to itself or when it knows to send excess on and outward. So have fun with these. Um, these can be these can be particularly useful if you want to divide, obviously, like your kelp blocks between a self-fueling furnace. That's not all it has to be. You could any furnace or anything that continues to use or make things that you need can be sent to themselves or sent elsewhere and used to almost as like a slowing gate so that you don't overwhelm a particular system with an item. For instance, if you had a whole ton of stone that you're mining and you need quite a bit of it to go to a furnace to become smooth stone or even cobblestone to regular stone, but without overwhelming and backing up your furnace, you could divide just how much stone and cobblestone you need. So there's lots of possibilities for how these distributors or routers work. And as always, I like to have machines doing as much work as possible so I can focus on the fun parts of Minecraft, like exploring and building cool stuff. So I hope you found this useful. Um, I would appreciate your subscriptions if possible. I've enjoyed helping you guys as much as I have, and your comments are always welcome. So, once again, thank you. Be blessed on your next quest, and I'm off to my next adventure.